NASA just confirmed what no one thought was possible. The interstellar object 3I/Atlas has done something on Mars that should break the laws of physics. High-resolution footage shows it hovering hashing, not crashing, not drifting hashing, hovering above the Martian surface. Then, in a burst of light, the soil beneath it shifts, as if reacting. The pattern it left behind is... Scientists say it is not dust, not gas, not ice. It is communication. And if that is true, Mars may not be as silent as we thought. Before we start, hit like and tell us where you're watching from. It helps us keep exploring NASA's biggest mysteries.
The footage begins in silence. No narration, no music, just the cold hum of Mars captured through the lens of the Parker Orbital Array. At first, it looks like static, grains of red dust floating in darkness. Then a faint reflection flickers across the screen. It moves with purpose, gliding over the Martian horizon, and in that moment, the control room at Johnson Space Center freezes. Dr. Amelia Rhodes leans closer to her monitor. She increases the contrast. The signal is not noise. It is 3I/Atlas, the same interstellar body NASA had declared lost 72 days ago, now moving against gravity itself. The last known coordinates placed it drifting far beyond the orbit of Jupiter, unpowered and silent. But here it is, hovering over Mars as if guided by an unseen force. Telemetry confirms something impossible. There is no fuel signature, no chemical propulsion, no ion trail. The object is moving without any identifiable thrust. It is simply there, suspended in perfect control. The data feed spikes. Every sensor across the Martian orbit lights up. The radiation spectrum begins to pulse in rhythmic intervals. 1, 2, 3, pause, repeat. Morse-like, deliberate. A pattern that looks designed. Dr. Rhodes calls for backup analysis. Within minutes, the signal is routed to deep space network stations across Goldstone, Canberra, and Madrid. Each site confirms identical readings. The pulses are real. They are not cosmic interference. They are structured communication. The frequencies are positioned in harmonic ratios, identical to the hydrogen line, the universal constant used in interstellar messaging. NASA's linguistics and data teams are called in. What they find in the waveform is even stranger. The intervals between pulses mirror the orbital timing of Mars itself. It is as if 3I/Atlas is syncing with the planet, whispering to it in cosmic rhythm. As the live feed continues, the reflection grows brighter. The surface below starts to shimmer. It is not a shadow, it is a reaction. The soil itself moves, rippling like a living organism under the alien light. Every analysis system flags the same anomaly. The Martian regolith is shifting at a microscopic level, forming geometric alignments too symmetrical to be random. Triangles, hexagons, patterns repeating across several meters of terrain. The probability of natural formation is less than 1 in 10 million. Something is controlling it, and that something is directly tied to the position of 3I/Atlas. The room goes silent again. Dr. Rhodes whispers the words that would soon be repeated across every scientific outlet on Earth. It is responding. In that instant, the atmosphere changes. For decades, Mars had been silent. Dust, rock, wind, nothing more. Now an interstellar object that should have vanished beyond the solar system is orchestrating movement on another world. No one speaks. Every camera records. Every eye watches as light from the object flickers one last time before fading completely. The feed cuts to black, but the story does not end there. 43 seconds after signal loss, a data stream arrives at Johnson Space Center. Encoded inside are coordinates, a spectral map, and one repeating numerical pattern. It is not random. It is directed toward Earth. The signal package from Mars is unlike anything NASA has ever received. The first layer contains a simple numeric sequence that repeats endlessly. At first, it appears meaningless, just random cosmic noise. But when Dr. Amelia Rhodes overlays the sequence onto the coordinates of the Martian terrain, something extraordinary happens. The numbers align perfectly with the region known as Arcadia Planitia, a frozen desert where NASA's Phoenix lander once detected traces of subsurface ice. The coordinates point to a specific area only a few hundred meters wide, a place with no geological anomalies. Until now, data analysts begin running deep spectral imaging. Beneath the surface, they find unusual density pockets arranged in an exact hexagonal grid. Natural processes do not create grids. It looks manufactured. The deeper the scan goes, the stranger it becomes. At 10 meters below the surface, the mineral composition changes sharply. Iron oxide, silica, and a rare trace of iridium, an element commonly found in meteorites. The pattern forms a near-perfect spiral leading outward from a central point. That central point matches the landing coordinates of 3I Atlas. The implications hit everyone at once. Either the object altered the terrain before disappearing, or the terrain itself was waiting for something to trigger it. NASA's communications team scrambles to decode the second layer of the data package. It contains a waveform that is not consistent with any known transmission type. When translated into audio, it produces a deep harmonic resonance, a sound so low it can barely be heard by the human ear. Yet, when amplified, the waveform produces a rising tone that stabilizes at 432 Hz. Engineers immediately recognize the number. It is the same frequency associated with resonance patterns in biological structures on Earth. But this signal is not biological. It is mechanical, intentional, and precise. As the sound continues, a faint vibration begins in one of the Mars relay satellites orbiting the planet. Sensors record an electromagnetic surge radiating directly from the surface grid. The vibration spreads, bouncing across the entire satellite network. It looks like a heartbeat, one pulse every 2 minutes. The team watches in disbelief as Mars itself begins to emit a rhythmic electromagnetic signature identical to the object's earlier pulses. Whatever 3I Atlas did, it left Mars in a state of communication. The planet is answering back. Public release of the data is postponed. NASA initiates a full-scale blackout of all transmissions related to 3I Atlas. Only a handful of authorized scientists have access to the live feeds. But in the age of digital leaks, silence never lasts long. Within hours, snippets of raw telemetry begin circulating on encrypted forums. Independent researchers from Caltech, MIT, and even amateur astronomers start piecing together the pattern. Their conclusion is identical. Mars is not just echoing a signal. It is transmitting, then something happens that none of the analysts can explain. The data feed from the Deep Space Network begins to shift. Coordinates inside the message update in real time. Tracking toward Earth, the new trajectory forms a straight line from Arcadia Planitia to our planet's orbit. The sequence ends abruptly with a timestamp set 48 hours in the future. Dr. Rhodes realizes what it means. 3I Atlas may not be done. It might be returning. For the next 48 hours, NASA operates in complete lockdown. Every antenna, every satellite, every long-range observatory is redirected toward the coordinates embedded in the final transmission. Outside the agency, rumors begin to spiral. Online communities speculate about an asteroid impact, a classified experiment, even extraterrestrial contact. Inside the Johnson Space Center, Dr. Amelia Rhodes and her team focus on a single question. What happens when the countdown ends? The timestamp from 3I Atlas is not just a random marker. It represents a precise alignment between Mars, Earth, and the Sun. The pattern is deliberate. Something is timing its arrival. At exactly 03:14 UTC, the instruments begin to register the first anomaly. The magnetosphere around Mars fluctuates. Radiation levels spike. Solar wind readings oscillate in unnatural rhythm, like an invisible hand is pressing against the energy field of the planet. Then, just as suddenly, everything stabilizes. The red planet falls silent again, but the silence does not last. 16 minutes later, a new signal appears, not from Mars, not from deep space, but from between the two planets. The transmission comes from an object moving at 30,000 kilometers per second, traveling directly toward Earth's orbit. Its spectral signature is identical to 3i Atlas.NASA's tracking systems light up in panic. Calculations show that the object is decelerating. No natural body in the solar system behaves like that. Every known comet or asteroid gains speed as it approaches the sun. This one is slowing down. The only explanation would be controlled propulsion, but the energy signature still shows nothing. No exhaust, no radiation, no heat. It is as if the laws of motion no longer apply. Within an hour, the object enters the observation range of the Lunar Gateway Station. Cameras lock on. The first images come through. It is 3i Atlas, the same smooth metallic core, reflective surface, and faint corona of light surrounding it. But there is something new. Along its lower hemisphere, faint streaks of red dust cling to its surface. Martian soil. The pattern is identical to the geometry seen in the Arcadia Planitia grid. It has carried the imprint of Mars with it. As it moves closer, the light intensity around the object changes. It is no longer a reflection. It is generating its own luminescence, pulsing in a sequence of alternating blue and amber tones. The rhythm is consistent with the earlier communication pattern. Scientists monitor in disbelief as the pulses synchronize perfectly with Earth's rotation speed. The object is adapting to our planet's timing, just as it once adapted to Mars. Dr. Rhodes calls for an emergency connection to the Deep Space Network. She orders continuous audio conversion of the incoming frequencies. The resulting sound fills the control room with a low, resonant hum. It rises slowly, modulating into a pattern that seems almost melodic. One of the audio engineers notices something strange. When the sound is visualized through spectrogram analysis, it forms symmetrical arcs, shapes that resemble planetary orbits. For a moment, no one breathes. The datum on the screen appears to depict a scaled representation of the inner solar system. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, all aligned. Then a fifth line appears, emerging beyond Mars. It curves inward, pointing directly toward Earth. The realization hits like a wave. The object is not just traveling, it is mapping. It is showing its intended path. And the path ends here. As the signal reaches its peak, the power grid inside Mission Control flickers. Monitors flash white. Every system reboots simultaneously. When the screens return, the live feed shows the object has stopped completely, holding position just beyond the moon's orbit. For the first time in human history, something from interstellar space has arrived within reach of Earth. The moment 3i Atlas halts near the moon, Earth's sensors ignite in synchronized alarm. Observatories across Chile, Hawaii, and the Canary Islands confirm the same coordinates. The object is stationary at the Lagrange point between Earth and the moon, a region of perfect gravitational balance. That position is no coincidence. It is the one location where an object can remain suspended indefinitely without propulsion. Within hours, NASA's emergency response team initiates the Artemis relay link to capture high-definition imagery. The first visuals come through at dawn. A shimmering sphere glows against the blackness of space, its surface rippling with faint electromagnetic waves, as though light itself bends around it. Inside Mission Control, the team stares in silent awe. The readings defy every model they know. The object's surface temperature does not match exposure predictions. Despite constant sunlight, it remains perfectly cool. No radiation spikes, no heat output, no energy loss. It exists in complete thermal equilibrium, as if insulated from the physical laws around it. Dr. Amelia Rhodes speaks quietly into her headset, describing the data as impossible, yet undeniable. She notes micro-vibrations emanating from the core every 7 seconds, a pattern consistent with the earlier pulse signals detected on Mars. Whatever this is, it is not inert. It is active. NASA authorizes a remote probe deployment from the Lunar Gateway. The probe, codenamed Helios 9, is equipped with autonomous navigation and electromagnetic shielding. As it approaches the object, its sensors begin to distort. Visual clarity drops. The surrounding space appears to bend. Engineers watching the telemetry describe it as an optical illusion, but the data confirms something more extraordinary: space-time curvature. The object is generating a localized gravitational field strong enough to warp light. Yet, there is no measurable mass to justify it. Every law of physics suggests this should be impossible. Then, something unexpected happens. The probe's communication uplink flickers, and a secondary signal overrides the feed. It is the same harmonic tone heard earlier, low, precise, and rhythmic. But this time, the tone modulates into a structured sequence of frequencies. Spectral analysis converts the sound into visual data. The waveform reveals patterns identical to Earth's magnetic resonance. The object is mimicking our planet's energy signature, reflecting it like a mirror. Dr. Rhodes realizes what that means. It is scanning us, not just observing, but recording every layer of electromagnetic identity Earth produces. Helios 9 continues its approach until the interference becomes overwhelming. The onboard cameras capture one final frame before transmission ends. Faint engravings appear along the surface of 3I Atlas, concentric lines intersected by points of light, arranged in a design that resembles orbital maps. At the center, one symbol glows brighter than the rest. It is a near-perfect representation of Earth. The connection severs instantly afterward. The probe goes silent. Mission control erupts into chaos. Some believe the object absorbed the probe. Others argue it merely disabled it through an electromagnetic pulse. But 30 minutes later, something even more extraordinary happens. The object emits a beam of soft blue light directed toward the moon's surface. Instruments confirm it is not a weapon or radiation discharge, it is data transmission. Within seconds, the lunar surface begins to glow faintly, following the same geometric shapes once seen on Mars. The patterns expand across several kilometers before fading back into darkness. Dr. Rhodes stares at the data feed in disbelief. Whatever 3I Atlas is doing, it is repeating the same process it performed on Mars, initiating communication through planetary resonance. Except this time the target is no longer millions of miles away. It is our own celestial neighbor. Humanity stands on the edge of direct contact, and every scientist in the room understands one thing: this object is not visiting. It is preparing. When the first visual transmission from Mars appeared on NASA's deep space display, no one in the control room breathed. The feed was grainy, unstable, flickering through interference that looked almost deliberate, as if something on Mars did not want to be seen. Dr. Amelia Rhodes leaned closer to the monitor. There, emerging from the Martian twilight, was a moving silhouette reflecting sunlight in a rhythm too precise to be random. It was not a dust storm. It was not a shadow. It was a pulse, and that pulse was synchronized perfectly with the lost signal of 3I Atlas. NASA's algorithms confirmed it within minutes. The reflection frequency matched the energy pattern recorded when 3I Atlas first entered our solar system. But here it was now, inside the Martian orbit, near the southern pole, an area humanity had never fully explored. Engineers tried adjusting the satellite's focus, and that is when the image stabilized. What they saw next froze the entire command room. A structure half buried in the red dust was glowing faintly with a silver hue, forming geometric shapes no natural formation could ever produce. It almost looked like 3I Atlas had fused into the Martian ground, as if Mars itself had absorbed it. Over the next hour, the reflection began moving again, slowly, deliberately. It tilted, realigned, and emitted a blinding flash of blue light. Every Mars orbiter recorded the same phenomenon: a burst of electromagnetic energy that temporarily disabled 2 communication satellites. Then, out of nowhere, the signal stopped. Silence. Black screen. When the visuals returned, the shape was gone, leaving behind a deep crater that was not there before. NASA scientists replayed the footage frame by frame. On the final 2 frames, something impossible appeared: a ripple on the Martian surface, like a wave traveling across sand. But there is no atmosphere strong enough on Mars to create that kind of motion. The thermal cameras showed the crater temperature rising instead of cooling, which violated every physical law. The AI system tracking the anomaly labeled it Artificial Reconfiguration Detected. That was when Dr. Rhodes said the words that silenced the entire floor. It is not just reflecting light, it is reacting to it. Within seconds, they detected another pulse, this time from beneath the Martian crust. Coordinates began to appear on their instruments, almost as if someone or something was sending them a message. The data matched no known geological pattern. It was precise, mathematical, intentional. NASA's director ordered an emergency lockdown, but it was already too late. The signal had transmitted to 3 other global observatories automatically. The information was now public, hidden deep inside open telemetry logs where millions could soon see it. And within those coordinates, one final phrase kept looping in binary translation. We made it. That was the moment every scientist in the room realized what they were witnessing was not random. 3i Atlas had done the impossible. It had reached Mars, and it was still alive.